Previously on the Skip and Josh podcast.
You know, I don't text you anymore during games because I want to talk about things on our show.
Right.
But what I do instead of texting you is I'll write the text. I just won't send it.
Oh my God, preemptive texts.
And I'll save them all, and then I'll tell you all of them now.
Okay, great. This is a new segment. You know, you ever see like these websites like texts from tomorrow morning and like one night stand texts and all these weird things, you know? So this is a new thing. This is like texts that were never sent.
Exactly.
I love it. This is amazing.
The Skip and Josh podcast is on now.
Hello.
Hey, Skip.
What's happening?
How are you?
I'm excited. I'm coming to Toronto tomorrow.
That is exciting.
So it was a very busy week in sports.
Huge.
Specifically, like the last few days, especially today, with the World Series still going on.
Mm-hmm.
A busy, very busy day in the NFL today with a couple of really interesting games that caught my eye.
Mm-hmm.
And I really need to talk to you about the NHL.
Okay, and by the way, you know what today is also?
What's today?
It's the 18th time that all four major sports are playing on the same night.
Today.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah, and it's the last time.
It can't happen again because the last possible day for baseball is Wednesday.
Right, and there's no football on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Right.
So, by the way, that's not a coincidence. I'm pretty sure Major League Baseball did not want to go up against Monday Night Football, so I'm pretty sure it's not a coincidence.
No, you're probably right. They work the schedule a certain way, right, to get the best viewers. The especially it's like a tough. Well, I mean, it's not really tough. Like, I guess we'll start with baseball.
Sure.
Since we're starting with baseball.
Yeah.
I didn't know what you wanted to go with first.
This could be a really long episode.
It could. For me, baseball is number one right now. Like, it's what I enjoy. I've said it so many times. Like, it's what I enjoy watching the most. I wonder, like, how the ratings are. Have you heard anything about how the viewership is? I mean, they have like 2 out of the top 4 media markets, right? Like, Houston is like the 4th biggest media market in the country, right?
Yeah, I haven't heard a thing. So, I mean, I could Google it while we're talking, but I have no clue if the ratings are up or down.
Yeah, I mean, at first I thought that, it's not going to be so great because, it's West Coast time, a lot of West Coast. But, I mean, it doesn't even make a difference. The games start at 8 o'clock regardless, right?
The games do start very late, and we've had this conversation before.
You must have been in shock from game 1. It was the fastest game ever.
Well, I texted you actually.
I
came home from hockey expecting to see the end of the game, and it was over like eons ago.
That's such a letdown because it's like you come home from hockey and you're like, oh good, I have like 3 innings left, which could be like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right? An hour and a half, 2 hours of baseball ahead of me. And here you are and the game's over.
And I turn it on and what do I see? 2.5 men.
It was
That's what I saw. Like,
best.
What's this?
It was a very, very fast game.
2 hours and 38 minutes, I think.
The pitching was unreal.
And there were very few, if any, pitching changes.
Yeah. Well,
so that speeds it up.
And that went out the window in the rest of the series. But
right. Like, I was stunned because one of the things I was complaining about was these managers, they manage so differently during the playoffs. It doesn't make any sense. If you have a guy who's pitching a 2-hit shutout in the 5th inning in the regular season, you're not taking him out. But in the playoffs, for some reason, you take him out.
Dave Roberts got a lot of flack this week on everywhere I listen to. Anybody writing or talking about baseball is talking about why did he take out Rich Hill after 4 innings? And like, I totally agree. Why did he take out Rich Hill after 4 innings? It made no sense.
It didn't make sense, but then even worse, the guy he brings in, I think it was Maeda, who he brought in.
Yeah.
Maeda was pitching well. I think it was him.
Yeah, he had no problems.
Maeda gave up a hit. He took Maeda out and brought in a guy who only threw 1 pitch. He got the guy out with that 1 pitch, but he threw 1 pitch and then he took him out in the next inning.
Yeah.
Like, dude, leave these guys in there for a few innings because you painted yourself into a corner.
Because, if it had gone extra innings, which is what he was hoping it was going to happen, that they were going to come back, right?
He would have been screwed.
I mean, it did go extra innings, but if it had gone further, let's say they had tied it up, I mean, he was screwed, right? He had no one else to bring in. So I really didn't quite get it because And, you know, his whole thing is, you know, like you heard what they were saying is like, oh, I didn't want him to see him. I didn't want them to see him the third time around. You know?
Well, wait and see what happens.
It's utter nonsense.
It's complete nonsense.
Everyone's saying, everything I read was basically saying that he's completely controlled by analytics. And I'm really shocked to hear that Dave Roberts is like that influenced by all this analytics.
He's not the only one, though, by the way. Like AJ Hinch is the same thing.
No, I know. And I think it's perfectly fine to use analytics and to help them make your decision making, but it can't be all your decision making. You know, otherwise they can put a MacBook Pro behind in the bench and let it decide what to do.
Well, you know, I've always said to you that I could be a manager in the American League. I could do that. Like, it's the easiest job on the planet.
By the way, yes, this is true. On Twitter this week, I forget who wrote someone, and someone said like, I don't get what's so hard. I don't understand what's so hard about being an American League manager. You know, anybody could do the double switch. And then I wrote from
not anybody can do the double switch. I know how to do it, but not anybody can.
Exactly. I wrote basically like, no, they can't. Yes, it's easy. Anybody could do the double switch, but they still don't know how to do it.
But you don't have to do it in the American League.
Well, no, in the National League rules here in the World Series, all of a sudden he has to figure it out. You know, and let me tell you something. If the Jays would have made it to the World Series, it would have been interesting because I would have loved to see how fast it would take John Gibbons to burn his DH spot and have the pitcher hit.
He's done that a few times.
He did it 2 or 3 times this year.
Yeah, didn't make any sense to me.
No. So, anyways, back to the series. I mean,
okay. So in Game 2,
yeah,
you remember the homer that Seager hit off Verlander?
Yeah.
Off the swing of the bat, it looked like it was a foul ball going like behind the dugout. I couldn't believe it actually went out.
The other homer also that was hit off Verlander. Verlander, by the way, he gave up 2 hits, both homers.
Yeah, that's it. Every hit in this series has been a homer. It's either a homer or nothing. That's all it is.
That's baseball now, I guess, right? But yeah. I mean, Game 2 was an instant classic. I mean, it was crazy exciting and comebacks, and you know, how often do you get a 2-run lead in the 10th and the team comes back with 2, right?
It reminded me of the St. Louis Cardinals with was it Freeze?
Yeah, Freeze, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it reminded
very
me
similar.
of that year.
Yeah, where it was like wild games with comebacks and changes of score and all that. Yeah, I agree with that. So, I mean, look, the game's about to start. We're recording now, and Game 5 is about to start. And
okay, well, we better stop recording then.
Yeah, so Kershaw versus, and now, I don't want you to call me out on my pronunciation about Keuchel, even though his name should be, look, I cannot help it if Dallas Keuchel pronounces his own name wrong. I can't help that.
You're right. Something needs to be done.
I don't understand how a word that's written Keuchel is pronounced Keuchel. Now, this makes no sense to me.
Okay, but neither does Mike Krzyzewski.
Yeah, okay, you got me there. It was interesting. I came across the official playoff roster, and I texted it to you. And in the official playoff roster that's distributed to the press, they have help to pronunciate the hard to pronounce names, and they tell you exactly how to pronounce, well, Keuchel. Even though,
by the way, speaking of the World Series,
yeah.
So I didn't see Game 1.
Okay.
Because that was the game that ended really quickly.
Yeah.
But Game 2. The Dodgers and the Montreal Canadiens have a few things in common.
Okay.
The Dodgers know how to do a pre-game ceremony.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
In Game 2, they brought out Vin Scully, Steve Yeager, and Fernando Valenzuela. And that whole little shtick that they were doing was great.
Well, I mean, as soon as Vin Scully comes out, the crowd goes crazy, right? Everybody, who doesn't love Vin Scully?
I know, but it was great the way they did it, because I thought he was actually going to throw the ball, but I'm like, he doesn't look like he can throw a ball. What is he doing?
He's 90 years old, right?
Then they switch. Then the series goes to Houston. Who do they bring out? J.J. Watt. I mean, listen, nothing against J.J. Watt. He's done a lot for Houston, and he's a great guy and all that.
He's like a cult figure in Houston.
I know, but I mean,
no one's more beloved, right?
The guy's been around for 15 minutes compared to Vin Scully and Fernando Valenzuela and Steve Yeager.
I mean, Vin Scully was doing Dodger games before the radio existed.
Yeah. So it's like it's an interesting contrast to see who the Dodgers bring out and who the Astros bring out.
Yeah. So I mean, look, it's 2-2 now. The Dodgers really needed that game yesterday. And now Keuchel versus Kershaw. Obviously, you have to give the edge to Kershaw. And
well,
then
yes and no. Yes, again, you know what I feel
edge.
about the pitching
It's
matchups.
the edge, but anything could happen, right? But if I'm the Dodgers, you really need to win this game tonight because knowing that Verlander's coming tomorrow.
See, I'm going to take the complete opposite of what you just said.
Okay.
So, yes, I think that under normal circumstances, 9 times out of 10, Kershaw versus Keuchel, I would give the edge to Kershaw. But you know what I feel about pitching matchups. They mean nothing. And the second thing I'm going to say is the game is in Houston.
Yeah, I know. It's a huge home field advantage. Yeah.
So if anything, I think Houston needs to win this game because the next 2 are in Los Angeles.
But let's say it goes like as Tony Kornheiser says, let's say it goes like chalk, right? Let's say Kershaw wins Sunday and then Verlander wins Tuesday, Game 6.
Okay.
They have neither team's announced their starters for Game 7. Like, what do you think happens?
Well, it's gonna be McCullers for Houston for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't announced it, but it has to be, right?
And it's probably gonna be Yu Darvish for LA.
Yeah, but I wonder if like the Dodgers, I don't think Houston would do it because Verlander would have just pitched the day before, so I don't think we'd see Verlander coming out of the bullpen. But I think there's a good chance you could see Kershaw come out of the bullpen and pitched.
You might, but I don't even think it's necessary.
Like a la Randy Johnson, when he was on the Diamondbacks.
Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah, Madison Bumgarner, classic example.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be necessary.
No.
Well, first of all,
Yu Darvish did not look good.
But the Dodgers also have Maeda, who's a starter, who's in their bullpen.
Yeah.
So like he could come in and pitch 5 innings.
The Dodgers have an endless supply of players. Pitchers
It seems that way.
And players. Like they have an endless supply. And I mean, if you're looking at this objectively, which I'm not because I'm cheering for the Astros, the Dodgers are superior only because the Astros have no relief pitchers. Their closer couldn't pitch yesterday. Basically, he could not get anybody out. So who are they going to bring in now?
It's surprising because the Astros actually had a good bullpen during the regular season.
But like Keuchel can't unless Verlander could pitch a complete game. Keuchel could go deep. But like, as soon as they need to bring in someone in, who are they going to bring in?
Well,
honestly,
Davinsky's very good actually, and he's been good.
They seem like they don't have any confidence in anybody, which is it's tough. They're in a tough situation that way. And the Dodgers are the opposite. The Dodgers have confidence in everybody. Jock Peterson looks like freaking Willie Mays.
By the way, what I never realized about the Dodgers until this week, they're actually quite young.
They're very young.
Like I think everyone says like they have one of the highest payrolls in baseball, but most of these guys are so young that they don't even have big contracts. So who are they paying all this money to other than Kershaw?
I think they're still paying like Adrian Gonzalez and they're paying like Chase Utley. Like who knows what kind of weird contracts they've got on the books that of guys that are just dead weight. But yeah, you're right. Of their starting team, right? No one's making big money, right?
Puig is young, Peterson's young, Seager's young.
Taylor, we never heard of him before this series, right?
Right. What's it called?
Turner is not making big money yet.
Bellinger's very young. It's his rookie year. So there's no way he's making a lot of money.
Yeah, Turner's not making big money yet. Maybe he's making something, but not like huge, right?
But Turner's like a journeyman. Has been on like 6 teams, I think.
Well, Kenley Jansen's making huge bucks. That's for sure. I don't know. We'd have to look at their payroll, but I mean, looking like you're 100% right. Looking at their team, it's for them to have a huge payroll. They must be still paying like there must be like in a New York Mets situation where they're still paying Bobby Bonilla.
Is Curtis Granderson even on the World Series roster? I haven't heard his name once.
I don't know. They haven't used him, and it's like they've used everybody, right? So
it seems that way.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Look, I'm looking forward. I'm going to watch the game as soon as we finish recording, and
I think it's going to go 7 games, and I hope it goes 7 games.
Me too. Yeah, me too. All right, so let's change gears to another sport.
Well, before we leave baseball, I just want to point out that you know how I always say that regardless of the sport, the coach or manager gets too much blame when the team loses and too much credit when the team wins.
Well, it's true. I mean, it's true.
So in the last, I think, 7 to 10 days, 3 managers who all won over 90 games and made the playoffs all got fired.
So true. Dusty Baker,
Joe Girardi, and John Farrell. Like, you've got teams who can barely play 500 baseball and they keep their managers, but these teams fire their managers.
Yeah, well, look, John Farrell's not a good manager. But you know, like,
I don't know. I mean, he won a World Series. I don't know.
I'm not like a huge fan of his, like, let's just say. But like you said, what there's not a huge difference either way, you know? And he did win the division with his team this year, which was like a completely flawed team, you know, when you look at it, you know, when you look at their roster.
Well, I mean, everyone thought with Price and Sale that they should
but
cruise.
They lost Big Papi, which was a huge, you know.
Yeah, that is a
hole in
big
their
deal.
Lineup. Girardi, look, he's been good for them, but I'm like I told you, I have friends who are huge Yankees fans. They couldn't wait to get rid of this guy. There's people, Yankees fans are jumping for joy that they fired Girardi. They couldn't wait to get rid of him.
It's like Montreal Canadiens fans when they fired Michel Therrien.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Girardi actually won a World Series for them, and he's been their manager for like 9 years or something.
And actually, this year they weren't expected to do a thing, and the fact they made the playoffs was a miracle.
Yeah.
So
and Dusty Baker, well, I mean,
Dusty Baker doesn't know what day of the week it is.
Dusty Baker just go and live in an assisted living and just retire. I mean, honestly, he shouldn't be. What does he need the stress of being a big league manager? You know, he's time to retire, Dusty. Honestly, he had a good career. He did what he could. He has a very good record as a manager. Unfortunately, he took some very good teams into the playoffs and never was able to win a World Series, and that's gonna be it for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hi there, Skip and Josh will be right back. To get in touch with them, you can send them an email to skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. You can follow them on Twitter @skipandjosh, and you can visit their website at www.skipandjosh.com. And now, back to the show.
So, what do you want to go to next? NFL
Hockey.
or hockey? Oh, I'm having a crisis with hockey.
I don't know why.
I'm having a big crisis.
I'm gonna clear everything up for you.
So here's my thing. I consider myself a knowledgeable fan.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I think I know what's going on when it comes to hockey.
Yeah.
I know when teams are good and when teams are bad. I need you to explain to me how the Vegas Knights are 8-1.
So
I'm starting to question whether I know like what's a good team and what's a bad team in the NHL. Vancouver is 6-3, right? The New Jersey Devils are 8-2. Teams that no one thought were going to be any good.
well, the New Jersey Devils got a very high draft pick, if you recall.
I know, but
that they shouldn't have got.
But no one thought New Jersey was going to even make the playoffs this year.
No. But
know?
the thing with hockey is every year there's always, it seems, 4 teams, 2 per conference, that come out of nowhere and have a great season that you were not expecting.
But I don't understand about the Vegas Golden Knights.
Well, the Vegas Golden Knights, I can explain it to you like this. I was actually talking to a friend of the show, Sean from Pittsburgh, about a week or two ago.
Oh, big time.
And Sean said this was when Vegas was 3-0.
Yeah.
Sean said that Vegas is not good and they're not going to make the playoffs. So that's what he said to me.
Well,
But
I mean,
if you think about it, the rules this year, and I said this to you, I think, months ago, the rules for the expansion team,
you did say this.
they had such a huge advantage because they were, first of all, they were not picking against another team. It wasn't like 2 teams entered the league at the same time.
Which is the first time that ever happened in our
Right,
life.
so they could just take whatever they want. They didn't have to worry about someone else. Oh, what if they take him? What if they take him?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And secondly, they actually have a pretty decent roster.
I know.
And they could have had actually a better roster. It's just that they agreed to take certain players from certain teams as favors.
Well, they intentionally tried to make their roster worse so that they could try to build with higher draft picks. They didn't want to be good right away.
Exactly. So my point is they could have had a better team than they have now. And
It's
they're
unreal.
And they have 8 wins. You're absolutely right.
It's unreal. Every time I see them, Mike, I don't understand. how
Now,
it's
okay,
possible.
we're 10 games into the season. Less, right? Whatever.
No, but still.
So it's, you even said yourself, you have to wait 20 games to make an assessment, but it is a little strange.
Yeah, we have to wait 20 games. So we'll wait 20 games.
Okay.
I mean, what else? Look, I don't want to go too much into the Canadians because we talked like only about the Canadians last time.
Well, here's what I'll say.
Yeah.
I interrupted you. Did you have
No,
something?
say what
I'm
you
just
need
going to say that, yeah, it's all well and good that the Canadians have won 2 of their last 3 games, but take a look at those teams that they beat. They beat the New York Rangers and the Florida Panthers, who I think each have one more point than the Canadiens do this year. So they beat teams that they should beat. So that's
But you could also say the same thing about like the losses that they had. You know, they lost twice to the Kings and once to San Jose and Anaheim. Like those are teams that are better than them, right? I guess.
Yeah, but they had some bad losses. They also lost to the Rangers earlier this season.
They did, yes. Look, they're not good.
They're not good.
We've always said, me and you have both always agreed, they are skaters, just skaters. They are they're a slightly above average team. And when their goalie is playing like he normally does, they're a good team.
Yeah.
That's the recipe. And right now, the skaters are playing below average because you have guys like Arturi Lehkonen with 0 goals. They have Charles Hudon, who they thought was going to contribute to the offense, who has 0 goals. Pacioretty's struggling. Like, everybody's struggling, right? The defense is a science experiment. They just brought in a whole bunch of guys and mixed them, matched them. And that's not good. And then you add that to the fact that Carey Price apparently has forgotten how to play goalie, and now they suck, which is no surprise, right?
Did you see what the fans did when Price made a routine save?
Well, what can you do? I mean, he deserved it, right?
But last time that happened, it was Patrick Roy.
Oh, well.
And Patrick Roy never played another game for the Canadiens.
That's not going to happen. Although, the last time the Canadiens signed a player to a huge contract, like 10-year contract of $8 million plus, the last time they signed a guy to the biggest contract in franchise history, they traded that guy.
Yeah, PK Subban.
Yeah, so anything could happen, right?
But when does Carey Price's no trade clause kick in?
I think it's after this year.
Okay.
Because actually, because the contract he signed was an extension. He's still making the same. He's still under his old contract right now.
Right. That's what I thought. I thought.
Yeah.
So, anyway, now is not the time to panic. And actually, it's never.
What can they do anyways?
No, it's never a good time to panic because there's no such thing as a quick fix. You're not. There's no good trade that you can make.
No,
just keep the roster you have, and if the team sucks, then the team sucks. Then at least you'll know the team sucks, and you have to do some work in the off season. But there's no point in any trade offer you're going to get from another team right now. You're going to get ripped off.
Well, Bergevin had a press conference, and he said exactly what you just said. He said it. He's like, I can't trade any of these guys now. People are trying to steal from me. He came out and said it. So he's like, we're going to go with what we have, and what can you do, right?
Now, if at the trade deadline, the Canadiens find themselves in last place in the league, and there's a team that wants to give a boatload of draft picks and some young guys, then by all means, I would listen.
Trade deadline's going to be interesting because let's say they start playing better. And maybe let's say they're 8 points out of a playoff spot at the trade deadline. Are they throwing in the towel and getting rid of guys for draft picks, or are they going to scratch and claw to the very end?
I would throw in the towel.
I know I would do the same thing, but I don't know what's going to happen, right? So we'll see. Do you have any other NHL topics that you wanted to discuss?
Well, a couple little things. First of all, I saw an interview with Paul Byron, who I really like very much as a player. Mm-hmm. And I was surprised that he spoke French.
I've seen him speaking French last year also in an interview, and I was also really surprised.
He's from Ottawa, so it makes sense. But still surprised.
An English-speaking person, let's say I was in the NHL, me personally.
That would be funny.
Okay, no kidding. Let's say I was in the NHL, and I'm a Quebecer, right? I speak French, right? I don't know how comfortable I'd be in front of the French media, like doing an interview. And I speak French.
In the interview I saw with him yesterday, he did use a few English words, but like...
I think that's normal. That's the way French is spoken here these days.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you really have to give him a lot of credit for doing that. So.
I agree.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to point out, a couple things about yesterday's game. I don't like Andrew Shaw playing on the power play. I don't like Andrew Shaw, period, but I certainly don't like him playing on the power play. Doesn't
make sense. Their power play is one of the worst in the leagues, and he keeps using the same guys.
Yeah. And the other thing, the first goal the Canadiens scored, Drouin. Mm-hmm. Actually, I don't know if he scored it.
No, Byron.
Right. But Drouin was offside on that goal, and the Rangers didn't challenge, and they should have.
Because they're scared they're going to get a penalty.
Yes, they are, but he looked offside to me. I would have challenged it.
Maybe they felt like, I don't know, I guess they got to be judicious with their challenges, right?
I suppose. I don't know. I guess because they got burned already once this year, the Rangers, maybe, and they didn't want to get burned again.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is like, how good are the Tampa Bay Lightning? They look scary.
Well,
I mean, their record is insane, but the amount of goals they're scoring, it's nuts.
the thing is, they're healthy now, first of all.
Yeah.
And they got rid of Bishop, and they're going with Vasilevsky.
Yeah.
And they also acquired this stud defenseman from the Canadiens, Sergachev.
Yeah. He's playing like he's got 4 goals already, which is crazy. But I mean, he's not playing big minutes. They're easing him in. He just happens to have 4 goals.
Good for
and
him.
Stamkos and Kucherov are 1-2 in the league in points. It's pretty wild. Like they look like a juggernaut.
I can't remember the last time Stamkos played a full season. So if he does, they'll be fine. But if he doesn't,
right. and chances are he won't, right?
Yeah, then they're in trouble.
Yeah, it's funny because I really thought Stamkos is kind of on his way down in his career, but he's certainly playing with Kucherov is like rejuvenated him, I guess.
And by the way, the Leafs have come down to earth a little bit.
Well, look, their record is good still. But yeah, they've come down to earth. Yeah, like people expected. They're an offensive machine, but the goaltending is below average and the defense is below average. So you get a good team, but not a great team.
Right, and so exactly what everyone thought was going to happen has happened. Their defense has been collapsing in the third period, and they've been blowing leads.
And the same thing's happening in Philadelphia. Mark from Philadelphia, a friend of the show, he's texting me all the time saying how excited he is about the Flyers, how great the Flyers are, and they're so much fun to watch, and they're 6-5, right?
Yeah, because they don't have a goaltender.
And well, you know what I've already used that line before, so I don't want to rehash one of my old zingers, but they haven't had a goalie since Pelle Lindbergh, right?
Was that your line or mine?
Maybe it was yours. Maybe I stole it just now. Honestly. They haven't had a goaltender. They've had exactly one.
I think that was your line.
They've had exactly one goaltender since Pelle Lindbergh, and that was Ron Hextall for maybe a couple of seasons. Right? Seriously. Yeah, the NHL is interesting because, like I said, I don't know, like, you don't watch Stranger Things, right? Okay, so, by the way, I started watching Stranger Things Part 2. I'm in episode 5. It's still really good. I like season 1 better. But season 2 is good. Actually, my wife likes season 2 better so far.
Yeah, but your wife is always contrarian.
I'm going to show you. We're on Skype, and I'm showing you via the video.
What are you showing me?
This is like the middle, right?
Yeah.
And in the show, there's a thing called the Upside Down.
I know. I saw season 1.
Oh, you saw season 1. There you go.
I saw all of season 1.
So right now, the NHL, it's like you don't know what's upside down and what's right side up anymore.
Ah, I see the
You see where I'm going with that? You see where I'm going with that? So like you can't, I don't know like who's good anymore. I don't even know how to judge teams. Well, you look at teams that you think are good or no good.
We'll have a special episode after everyone's played 20 games and we'll assess.
Okay, I'm down for that. I'm ready. I think that's a good idea because that'll like, force us to like look at things more rationally.
What is it that you say when you see things?
Good one.
I see things as they are, and I say no. You see things as they are not, and you see do you see things as they are? What do you say when you see things?
NFL? You watched some NFL today?
I actually did fall asleep on the couch while watching NFL today, which I know is your favorite thing.
There was some good, I couldn't do that today. I only watched a little bit of I watched the first half of the Eagles and then I had to go out. We had something to go to today. A friend of ours had a baby and so we went to see the baby.
Mm-hmm. We're going to see the baby.
Exactly. And then when I came home, I watched the second half of the 4:00 games. So I missed the chunk in the middle.
Okay.
But the Eagles, wow. So good. I mean,
they beat the Niners. Big deal. They
beat the Niners, but they you can only beat who's in front of you, and it was like a classic. Like I don't want to say it was a trap game because the 49ers are so bad that like you'd have to be a hell of a trap to trap you, But like it's a letdown, I don't think they're as fired up to play the 49ers as they were, to play the Redskins in their last game, So, and they did the job. But I mean, the 4:00 games had some real good ones. The Cowboys Redskins. I don't know who you're cheering for there, but I mean,
I don't like the Cowboys, but I hate the Redskins even more.
Yeah,
and for all those people who feel bad for Kirk Cousins because they feel that he's underpaid, I every time they lose, I'm happy.
I mean, look, he's a better than average quarterback, but he's not great. He's Kirk Cousins.
I think he's one of the top 3 highest paid quarterbacks in the league, and he's not one of the top 3 quarterbacks in terms of caliber.
No, not even close.
So I don't think he's underpaid. I don't know why people keep saying that he's underpaid.
Wait till the offseason.
And he's
Wait till the
offseason.
Wait till the offseason when he cashes in and he signs with the 49ers for $1 bajillion.
Well, hold on. That's what everyone's saying is going to happen.
Yeah.
But if he has a mediocre season, which he's having right now, are the 49ers or any team going to open up their wallet and say, here's a boatload of money?
No, I don't know. You have a point there.
I think the Redskins can franchise him again.
I don't think they will, though, will they?
Why not?
Oh, Jesus.
If they don't have another option, I would do it.
I guess, yeah.
I would totally do it.
And how about that Seattle-Houston game?
I did watch a bit of that. That was exciting. I wasn't expecting such a high-scoring game.
Well, let me tell you something. I want to tell you about my fantasy football team.
Okay.
I'm undefeated, 7-0.
That's impressive.
Okay? My team's a juggernaut. I'm tearing through the league. I had Drew Brees as my starter. Mm-hmm. And then a few weeks into the season, I decide I'm going to pick up Deshaun Watson since nobody has him. Mm-hmm. So now I've been using Deshaun Watson as my starter because he gets like a million points every week, right?
He does, yes.
But now this week I'm playing the matchups because you have Drew Brees. Who did they play today?
The Bears.
Yeah, I figured
the Bears have a good defense.
Yeah, I figured Drew Brees against the Bears. You should have a decent matchup. Or you have Deshaun Watson against Seattle. So I'm like, okay, I think I got to go with Brees, right?
It's a tough call. It's not that simple a call because...
Yeah. Seattle's defense is so good. Meanwhile, look at this crazy high-scoring game. But he did throw 3 interceptions, though, with Watson, right, in the game. But, I mean, if you're looking at the future of the NFL right now, which is what I told my son this afternoon, it's Carson Wentz and Deshaun Watson, don't you think?
Yeah, although Carson Wentz was just ordinary today.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he was ordinary, but he still manages to make like big plays when they need him, you know?
I have to tell you something about that Texans-Seahawks game.
Mm-hmm.
So I have Will Fuller, the receiver on the Texans, on my team, on my fantasy team.
He only catches touchdowns.
Except for some reason I decided to bench him today because...
You should never... same reason as me, because they're against Seattle.
Against the Seahawks, so I benched him.
Yeah.
The other thing I did, the receiver on the Seahawks who caught 2 touchdowns today, is his name Richardson?
Yeah, Richardson, yeah.
So I actually added him to my team just a week ago. I added him, not even.
Yeah.
Not knowing anything about him, I added him to my team. And then all of a sudden, during the week, somebody cut. They cut Jared Goff, who I know is nothing special, but my quarterback situation is pretty bad.
Okay.
So I'm like, I got to pick up Jared Goff. I have to pick him up. And the only guy really for me to cut was
dropped Richardson. Yeah.
So I cut him. And here he goes and gets 2 touchdowns today.
Well, that's the story of your life.
Yeah. Anyway, I still won my game, or I'm going to win my game this week. But it would be nice to have that guy on my roster.
So the good game is there's a real good game tonight, right?
Yeah, I'm watching baseball, so I'm not watching Steelers Lions because I'm whenever watching baseball.
Gonna flip to it in the commercials, right?
Sure.
And then also Monday night, another really good Monday night game, Denver, Kansas City. Yeah, I know Denver's like on a little bit of a losing streak and everything, but I mean, it's like those old AFC West rivalries are always good.
So let me tell you something about the Denver-Kansas City game. Sure. I have the Kansas City defense, they have not been good lately.
No.
But I don't have much of a choice. I also have, and I've been using for the last 6 weeks, I think, Trevor Siemian as my quarterback.
No wonder your team sucks.
Right. Well, I benched him this week instead, and I used Josh McCown, which was a brilliant move because McCown had a good game. I know
he's the worst quarterback in the league.
Actually, he's not. you think he is because you hear the name and you think this guy's ancient, but if you look at his stats, he is actually one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
It's because they're always down, and so they got to throw. No?
I don't know what the reason is.
Well, he's getting like we talked about last week. The Jets.
Even today they lost, but he had a good game.
Yeah, they lost just barely against the Falcons today, so it was interesting. I just don't know when the Cleveland Browns are going to get a win.
They might not.
They really might not. It's really quite sad, actually.
And
then the other thing that we did confirm this week, is that the Raiders are no good.
Well, we don't know because they were good last week and they're bad this week. They're Jekyll and Hyde.
I have no faith in them at all. And the Bills are like sneaky good, right? I think they're a lot better than everybody thinks. Especially at home. Especially at home. Wait till the cold weather comes.
So I misspoke about Josh McCown. He's not one of the top 5 QBs, but he's one of the top 10.
Okay. Well, you take that if you're a Jets fan, no?
Wait, before you close the show. Mm-hmm. So did you hear this story? I have to tell you this story. And I think your son would appreciate this probably more than you. You know Joel Berry on North Carolina?
Oh, this is the best.
So he was playing NBA 2K with another guy on the team. I don't even know who.
Pinson.
And he lost.
Yeah.
And he was so upset that he lost that he punched a wall and broke his hand, and now he's out for a month.
What can I say? There's so many like jokes you can make. There's so many things you can say, especially like we're Duke fans. We hate Carolina. Like it's just like it's so perfect. It's like the story just stands alone, you know?
It's a video game. He lost a video game.
Who was the Expo pitcher that punched the wall and broke his hand? Brian Barnes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was it I think he banged his head on the wall, actually.
I think you're right. I think he banged his head on the wall.
Yeah.
That's even worse.
That's even worse.
Yeah, well, it's in today's day and age, he'd give himself a concussion, right? People take the video games very seriously.
I know. It's crazy.
Including me. I don't play that game, but I take other games very seriously.
So Joel Berry reminds me of the Cleveland Indians pitcher, Trevor Bauer, who cut up his thumb with a drone and couldn't pitch in the playoffs.
Yeah, that was last year, right? They tried to wrap it up and stuff and like get him ready to pitch, but he was no good, right? Last year he couldn't do it.
He was dripping blood on the pitcher's mount.
Well, like, look, if you're Kurt Schilling and you have that bloody sock, it worked in his favor, I guess.
Yeah, that worked.
It's like stuff of legend now.
But Joel Berry won't be able to play basketball for at least a month, maybe more.
The poor Tar Heels. I wish I could feel sorry for them.
Did you watch that we didn't even talk about Ohio State, Penn State.
I watched it.
I watched
it actually.
Penn State blew it.
Just when I say that we never talk about American college football, all of a sudden me and you were both watching this game and we didn't even talk to each other about it.
Because Fox was hyping it up like crazy during the World Series. So I obviously tuned in to see what was going on.
Look,
and Penn State had a huge lead and blew it.
They had a huge lead and I was in shock that they were able to come back. And the thing is, like, once he started completing passes, the quarterback of Ohio State,
JT Barrett,
like everything was complete. And it was like he was just cutting them up like so easily.
There's no defense in college football, it seems. The scores every week, if you look at them, there's like 52 to 47, it's crazy scores.
So does that knock Penn State out of like the top 4 contention?
I mean, I don't know. They only have one loss.
The rankings are only coming out this week for the first time, right?
Okay. Well, it's only their first loss of the season, number one. Number two, they lost on the road to a team that could potentially be one of the Final Four.
But if Ohio State would have lost that game, I think they would have been out of contention.
Yes, if they would have lost, they probably would have been out.
Anyway,
but I don't think this knocks out Penn State.
Because the other really good team apparently is Georgia, right?
Yes.
That no one's talking about?
And Notre Dame is good again all of a sudden.
Yeah, from what I listened to this week, I listened to a podcast and they were talking about it. If Notre Dame can run the table, then they can make it into that top 4.
And we didn't even mention Alabama and Clemson.
Oh, I hate Alabama.
Yeah, but you know they're going to be there. It's unfortunate.
They're the evil empire right now.
There.
Yeah. Before we sign off, remember you can listen and subscribe to new and archived episodes of the Skip and Josh podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Google Play, or the podcast app of your choice. And if you listen through Apple Podcasts, please give us a review. You can contact us via email, skipandjoshshow@gmail.com, via Twitter @skipandjosh, or by liking and following our Facebook page. And as always, if you go to skipandjosh.com, you can get all the links that I just mentioned. And also, one big important thing about our website, it is exactly 5 days until our 1-year anniversary. So by the time we record our next podcast, we'll have been our 1-year anniversary. All right, so hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, looking forward to it.
If not, for sure Tuesday probably. And I'll speak to you next time.
Okay, great.
The Skip and Josh podcast is over now. Don't worry, there'll be another episode soon.